Lost in random, the eternal die welcomes you with crackling energy, pulling you into an adventure that feels both immediate and strangely intimate. You are Queen Alexandra now, once a ruler of random, now a prisoner within a sentient die. Her voice, laced with equal parts regret and determination, guides you through neon-lit corridors, shadowy swamps, and clockwork fortresses, each more surreal than the last. From the first swing of your sword, the combat grabs hold of your senses. There is a crispness to each strike, steel meeting flesh, a satisfying recoil, a flourish of motion that begs you to string together another combo. Your sword, bow, spear, or hammer. All four weapons feel distinct, each unlocking its own dance of momentum and force. One moment you're sprinting past arrows, the next you're charging a devastating smash. In that split second before release, you taste possibility. And then there's Fortune, your companion die. You throw him like a desperate prayer and watch him tumble, each face promising a different fate. 6 unleashes carnage, 1 barely scratches. Either outcome sends a thrill through your soul. Retrieving him becomes a gamble. Will you risk exposure for the chance at overwhelming power? It's that tension, risk balance on a blade, that keeps your heart hammering even after dozens of runs. But this game isn't content with simple hack and slash. It layers in card-based magics, icy vortices that slow enemies, spectral hounds that track the guilty. Each ability has that satisfying snap when timed just right. And then come the relics, gifts from the chaotic heart of random, a grid of colored slots where matching 3 yields a surge to your weapon, your cards, or your luck. Every choice feels meaningful. Every relic you slot, every bonus you trigger, is a small story of triumph amid randomness. Between runs, you return to the Sanctuary, a junkyard cathedral where rescued souls trade tales for upgrades. You learn the victory here is shared. A giant frog in tattered regalia offers blessings. A masked merchant refines your weapons. Each conversation unfolds like a miniature play, until you realize that the world you fight for matters just as much as the fight itself. The game's art direction marries crooked fairy tale charm with pulsing neon veins. Shadows coil like living things, and every realm exudes its own personality. One minute you're navigating a fungal underworld where spores drift like confetti, the next you're winding through a mechanical circus of gears and mirrors. And through it all, the soundtrack pulses, gothic strings melding with electronic throbs, pulling you deeper into the die's dream. Difficulty here isn't punishment, it's invitation. You will die, frequently, yet each defeat feels like a lesson etched into your reflexes. You learn attack patterns, room layouts, and the clever quirks of each boss. You adjust builds, you tinker with relics, and slowly, steadily, you grow stronger. The narrative unfolds in breadcrumbs. It's not a sweeping epic, more a whispered confession from a once mighty queen. You'll yearn for deeper lore from time to time, but the emotional core remains clear. Redemption, revenge, and the fragile hope that even fate can be bent. After all the darkness and dice throws, you'll step back and marvel at how those moments of randomness coalesce into something purposeful. Those spikes of joy, those near misses, those glorious sixes, they all sink into a rhythm that carries you forward. In the end, Lost in Random, The Eternal Die delivers one of the most exhilarating action roguelites I've ever played. It's smart without feeling precious, challenging without cruelty, and endlessly replayable. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. If you crave combat that makes your heart race and rewards both strategy and spontaneity, this game is your next obsession. Whether you're a seasoned roguelike veteran or someone seeking an entrancing entry point, roll the dice, you'll be glad you did.
We need to act now.
Have you ever lain awake at 2 a.m., wrestling with every regret, every what if, and wondered how different your life might have been? The Altars grabs that feeling by the throat, drags it onto an alien world, and forces you to survive it twice, thrice, or more, through versions of yourself you never knew existed. In this game, you are Jan Dolsky, a builder on a mining mission for a substance called Rapidium. When your crew dies on entry, you wake alone on a bleak gray planet where the sun itself can bake you to a crisp. Salvation lies in a towering wheel-shaped base, your new home, your fortress, and your prison. Inside that base is a quantum computer and a chamber called the Womb. Feed it Rapidium, and you spawn altars, clones of Jan, each shaped by a different life choice. One Jan became a scientist, another stayed with his wife, a third stood up to his father. They share your face, your DNA, and your name. But none share your story, not really. And they matter. Managing their moods, their needs, their grudges, and their scars is as vital as mining metal or weaving radiation filters. Skip a meal, skip a conversation, skip their birthday gift, and you'll watch them sulk, rebel, or die. The game's heartbeats in those moments. Late night chats in the lounge, beer pong tournaments to relieve stress, awkward attempts at consolation. You end up worrying about these Jans the way you'd worry about a friend, because in a twisted way, they are your friends. But this doesn't feel like a gimmick, it feels real. Alex Jordan's voice work gives each Jan a distinct tone, a unique cadence, a personality you can't ignore. When Engineer Jan complains about back pain, or Botanist Jan reminisces about his imaginary wife, you believe it, you feel it, mechanically. The Altars is a survival base builder with a kinetic twist. By day, you assign jobs in the 2.5D interior, workshops, gardens, labs, mess halls. By night, you venture out in third person, scanning for veins of organics, metals, and rupidium. Build rigs, daisy-chain pylons, harvest enough to keep the base and your altars alive. All in real time, while the sun inches closer, each minute a lifeline or a noose. It's tense, it's addictive, but it's also flawed. The base feels cramped once it grows. Chasing Yans down the corridors becomes a stroke-inducing loop of elevator rides and map checking. Resource gathering can turn into button mash busywork, especially when the next upgrade hinges on one more rock fragment. And the final chapter loses some of its desperation, trading sweat for exposition more than I would have liked. Even so, the narrative lifts you higher than any flaw can pull you down. The Altars isn't just about getting home, it's about confronting every path you never walked. It's about facing regret in the face, asking whether survival is enough, or if we need redemption too. When my base finally rolled out of that crater toward the rendezvous point, I felt equal parts relief and sorrow. Relief because the nightmare was over. Sorrow because I knew those Jans would fade. Unless I replayed, unless I made new choices, unless I dared to find every branch of that quantum tree. This is not an easy game. It's not a casual jaunt. It's a study in anxiety, in consequence, in empathy brought into impossible skills. But for anyone who's ever asked what ifs and longed for an answer, this game delivers. It's a gem of indie storytelling, a survival challenge, and a philosophical mirror all in one. I scored a 9 out of 10, and I can easily recommend it to all as it is a must-play. When I first powered on my Switch 2 and slid Mario Kart World into the dock, I was plunged into something extraordinary. A vibrant, living world rendered with crisp clarity and seamless performance. The instant the green flag dropped, the console's upgraded hardware made itself known. Every texture felt alive, every particle effect, dust kicked up on dusty corners, sparks on molten rails, danced with a smoothness I'd never seen on a handheld. But beyond the technical marvels, it was the way the entire experience engulfed me that left the deepest impression. Rather than isolated circuits picked from a menu, Mario Kart World plants you in one sprawling, open map. I coasted through mushroom meadows, smiled as I swept past a pack of Goombas, and discovered a hidden tunnel behind an oversized toadstool. Each corner of Frostbite Fjord glistened under the sun. Blazing Canyon's lava flows roared with molten intensity. The Switch 2 never stuttered, not once. The map felt truly boundless, each region feeding into the next without a hint of loading. In a handheld format, this seamless unity felt downright magical. The console's responsiveness and the game's design coalesced into an electrifying dance. Knockout Tour Mode took that delight to another level. 24 racers, each pushing and shoving for position. A stray lightning bolt shrank half the field. A well-timed blue shell shredded my lead, and through it all, I never lost a single frame. The heart-racing tension mounted as each elimination slotted me back into the open world, inviting me to explore while I waited. The Switch 2's new networking prowess ensured that even online matches remained smooth. No rubber banding, no sudden disconnects, just cutthroat competition. Free roam mode became my sanctuary between races. I commandeered a passing truck, barreled through NPC traffic, and to trigger a P-Switch challenge. Completing it yielded a sticker that now proudly adorns my cart. It was a small flourish, yet it felt monumental. Handheld, the Switch 2's crisp 720p and consistent 30 FPS turned every P-Switch puzzle into an instant yes. Visually, Mario Kart World is a showstopper. In docked mode, 1080p at 60 FPS lets every cursed flame and icy slick shine. The particle effects, frost crystals, lava embers, drifting sand, pop with lifelike detail. Audio is symphonic, engines roar, shells whiz past, and remix classics swell at just the right moment. Yet, it's not flawless. Casual racers might stumble on the charge jump learning curve. Vast stretches of world can feel a bit empty before discovery. But those moments only highlight how much Nintendo has dared to dream. An open world Mario Kart, smooth as silk on brand new hardware, wrapped in a world that begs for your curiosity. It's a pairing I never knew I needed. If you're a veteran racer seeking a fresh technical challenge, or someone who craves the thrill of exploration in every corner, this is your game. Casual players can still jump into a classic 3-lap cup and feel right at home. I give Mario Kart World on Switch 2 a 9 out of 10. It is high-octane, immersive, and brimming with charm. I'm confident all Nintendo fans will love this new title, and it will definitely be a top seller for them this generation. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is a game that, for me, has felt equal parts strange and deeply human. I spent over 60 hours wandering its world from dusty Mexican plateaus to Australia's sun-bleached outback, and I'm finally ready to share what stood out. First off, the moment you step into Sam's shoes again, you feel his weight, not just on his back, though those cargo crates do impress. I mean the emotional weight. Sam's living off the grid with Lou, the child born of a bridge baby pod. Their routine is quiet, their bond is soft like early morning light. When that peace shatters and you're forced back into a broken world, you feel it in Sam's shoulders, in every hesitant step across cracked earth. Gameplay opens up early. You forge paths with bikes and floating carriers. You build roads, zip lines, even monorails. Each tool whispers possibility. Every ladder can be a lifeline. Traversal becomes choreography as you balance weight, momentum, and sloping rock faces. That tension is a rare gift in modern games. You're always calculating, do I sprint straight and risk toppling my cargo, or do I take the longer, safer route? And then there's the weather. A sudden sandstorm's like a living thing. It batters your stamina, forces you to retreat, to rethink. Rain, timefall, ages anything it touches. You can't simply charge forward. You learn to respect the sky as much as the ground. Combat has grown more confident. You'll spot ghost mechs rising from tar like summoned spirits. Their blades hum with menace. You can go in silent, picking them off with tranq rounds, or you can lean into chaos, blasting them with an LMG, diving behind cover, reloading on the fly. It's visceral, it's satisfying, yet never so easy that you forget how fragile you are, how precious that cargo is. Narratively, the game has highs and lows. The Drawbridge crew, the eclectic team that becomes your surrogate family, delivers moments of true warmth. Dahlman, the living puppet, is a marvel. He perches on Sam's hip, offering counsel, levity, even strategy. When he tugs you towards a hidden cache or cracks a wry joke, you're reminded that connection is more than wires and signals. It's companionship, shared purpose. On the other hand, some characters drift at the edges. I found myself wishing for more depth, more shared scenes to cement their bonds with Sam. The plot twists when they land can be thrilling, but sometimes they feel like late additions rather than organic growth. Still, every step forward pulses with intention. The game's quietest moments, walking across an empty desert at dawn, listening to distant wildlife, are as powerful as its spectacle. The sculpted lighting, the tactile bark of eucalyptus trees underfoot, the way Sam's boots sink into soft sand, these details carve emotional space. You remember them long after you've put down the controller. As for flaws, On the Beach has smoothed out some of the original's rough edges. That means less crunchy friction, fewer nail-biting scares when you trip on a pebble, and watch your supplies tumble into darkness. And yes, combat can feel too generous, too forgiving, when you can simply drive through enemy camps or mow down ghosts with well-placed shots. That ease can undercut the solitary struggle that made the first game so poignant. Still, for all its polish and optional shortcuts, Death Stranding 2 remains a meditation on connection. Every road you build, every structure you leave behind for another player to use, echoes the game's heart. We are stronger together. It stands as a bold evolution, equal parts poetic journey and tactical sandbox. It asks us to consider what truly binds us, not the wires humming beneath a neon highway, but the kindness we extend, the hands we hold, the burdens we share. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. If you crave experiences that linger in your mind and echo in your heart, if you want a game that's as much about walking and wonder as it is about stealth and strategy, then this game is just for you. Raido Remastered. The mystery of the Soulless Army isn't just a polished throwback. It's a pulsing, living world that hums with secrets and the soft glow of street lamps. You play as Raido Kusunoha 14, freshly minted from a lineage of devil summoners. By day, you're a fledgling gumshoe at the Narumi Detective Agency. By night, you wrestle demons into submission with your sword and specially crafted demon tubes. Every case unfolds like a vintage film reel, flickering between human streets and shadowed doorways that lead into the dark realm. What grabs you first is the story's heartbeat, a missing heiress, red uniformed soldiers snatching souls, and whispers of Rasputin's dark machinations echoing through cherry blossoms. I felt the pull to uncover each secret, leaning close to the screen, pausing to let Gudo's quips settle in. Voice acting breathes fresh urgency into dialogue that once sat silent on tiny PS2 text boxes. Here, emotion cracks through. Fear, awe, determination, all ringing clear. Combat hits like a revelation. Raido's light sword attacks don't just stagger enemies, they feed your magic gauge, an elegant dance of risk and reward. Heavy strikes smack harder, but they won't refill your reserves. This forces you into a rhythm. Flurries of slashes, then tactical pauses to let demons thunder down spells. You'll summon 2 allies now, where once you had only 1. The second demon is your secret weapon, healer, buffer, or dual element blaster, depending on who you choose. At first, I rushed in, letting the chaos reign. Then I learned to lock on, to carve openings with precise gunshots in aim mode, to dodge roll at the last second and trigger Devil's Bane counterattacks. The difference between button mashing and strategic mastery is profound. Every encounter feels alive, from the jitter of mutant crows to the bone-rattling armor of back alley tank demons. Quality of life features hum in the background like a well-oiled streetcar. Auto saves that spare you heartbreak, quick saves when you need them most, and an express streetcar, fast travel that zips you across Tokyo's tangle of neon and soot. Demon Fusion has been reimagined too, no more blind guesswork. Now you can search by result, crafting exactly the spirit you need for the next case, the next boss, the next midnight skirmish in a pawnshop basement. Still, it isn't flawless. Some boss fights drag on, clumsy choreography that tests your patience more than your skill. A few investigation powers feel shoehorned. You'll summon a flying demon once to cross a gap, then never again. And Tokyo's mid-game pacing stumbles, an odd backtrack here, a bland fetch quest there. but these are minor scratches on an otherwise gleaming blade. Visually, the game walks a tightrope between nostalgia and polish. Background NPCs sometimes look straight out of 2006, their models stiff against richly lit environments. For me, it is an 8.5 out of 10, and if you crave JRPGs with a detective's edge, if you yearn to manipulate demons as tools of both combat and investigation, or if you simply want to wander moonlit Tokyo in search of forbidden truths, this game is your next midnight obsession. For everyone else, this is a masterclass in respectful remastering, proof that a 2-decade-old cult classic can shine brighter than ever when given the chance. Welcome. Today, we climb a game that's neither puzzle nor pure survival, but something alive in between. You begin stranded, 4 nature scouts shipwrecked on an island crowned by a towering, ever-shifting mountain. There are no camps to build, no sprawling bases to craft. Your salvation is simple, climb. But simplicity here is a lie. The world itself conspires against you. Peak greets you with pastel skies and soft-edged characters, lulling you into a false comfort. Then comes the first slip, the gasp. Your friend's voice crackles in your ear, grab my hand. And suddenly you're teetering on the edge of panic and exhilaration. Every climb is a collage of tiny crises. One wrong leap and the fog rises to swallow you whole, an insidious white mist that creeps up like regret. Hunger gnaws at your stamina bar. Injuries stack. A misjudged ledge becomes a 50-foot fall. You learn quickly, survival is teamwork. 4 unique biomes await, each a character in this story. The jungle snarls at you with toxic blossoms. The snowy mountains howl, invisible crevasses lurking beneath fresh powder. Volcanoes churn beneath your boots. Lava pulses like a heartbeat. What keeps Peak fresh is its daily map. Every 24 hours, the island redraws itself. Paths vanish. New cliffs emerge. Your muscle memory becomes useless. That uncertainty, what made you safe yesterday, now becomes your undoing. Yet, in that chaos, you discover new routes, new tricks. You learn humility. You learn to laugh when everything goes sideways. Technically, Peak runs smooth on mid-range rigs and even manages a solid 60 FPS on Steam Deck's medium settings. Occasional crashes lurk, yes, but when 4 friends finally sync and call out, "Ready?" all technical hiccups dissolve into the roar of triumph. Solo play transforms Peak into a different beast, quiet, patient, almost meditative. Without voices echoing in your ear, every hold becomes a conversation with yourself, and when you slip, there's only you to blame and to forgive. This is a game of contrasts. Pastel charm versus brutal peril. Wordless camaraderie punctuated by the simplest phrase, "Grab my hand." It's a co-op that demands trust, communication, and enough humility to chuckle when you faceplant for the 10th time. In a sea of survival titles, Peak stands out, not for the breadth of its systems, but for the depth of its moments. Moments of panic, moments of joy, moments of quiet wonder as you crest the final ledge and gaze at the world you've conquered. Peak isn't perfect. It stumbles, it glitches, it invites frustration. Yet, in its imperfections, it finds personality. It forges memories. I score it a 8.5 out of 10, and it is ideal for groups of friends who treasure chaos over polish, solos who relish solitude as a puzzle, and anyone ready to say, again and again, "Grab my hand." When I first booted up Ruffy in the Riverside, I wasn't sure what to expect. The opening scene, a hand-drawn bear tumbling down a waterfall, felt equal parts playful and surreal. Moments later, I discovered the swap mechanic, a simple tap of a button which transforms lava into ice, stone into wood, water into vines. And just like that, the world became a giant living puzzle. From that instant, I was hooked, not because swapping textures is flashy, but because it invites curiosity. Every rock, every patch of sand, every tree trunk whispers possibilities. Can I make that chasm passable? Will swapping this metal grate for wood let me float across the river? These questions fuel an addictive loop of experimentation and discovery. Ruffy himself is charming. He moves with joyful energy. His bounce, his dash, even his victory spin feels weighty yet playful. His companion Pip, a sassy bee, buzzes encouragement, an occasional snark. Sir Adler, the grumpy mole mentor, rumbles through mission briefings with reluctant warmth. Their banter threads genuine personality into each quest. Story isn't the main selling point here, yet it pleasantly surprised me. Grohl, the cube overlord, devours magical marbles that power Riverside's life force. Ruffy and his friends must collect 6 sacred letters to reactivate the world core before everything turns to stone. It's a tidy framework for branching adventures, just loose enough to let you stray off the beaten path, and stray you will. The hub world hums with activity. Ravens dart overhead, mole merchants paddle through canals. Hidden snow globes nestle in tree hollows, waiting to be uncovered. Side quests range from painting portrait puzzles to hay bale races that almost feel designed to make you laugh out loud. Especially when you use swap to sabotage your opponents with mud-slick traps. Ruffy's platforming foundation is solid, if occasionally floaty. Jump arcs feel generous, forgiving even. Gliding with Pip's wing boost adds a layer of freedom. Yet, in tighter sections, imprecise controls can betray your intentions. And the camera, mostly helpful, sometimes drifts too low, clipping into terrain and forcing blind leaps. These moments jar the experience but never fully derail it. Puzzles shine brightest when they strike a balance between obvious and obscure. Early on, swapping a waterfall for vines to climb feels ingenious. Later, extending that idea into rolling ball labyrinths in the buried city, or unlinking symbols to unlock ancient doors, hits that sweet spot of challenge and reward. Visually, the game is a feast. Hand-drawn sprites stand out crisply against low-poly environments. The palette bursts with color, sunset oranges, forest greens, bubblegum pinks. It resembles a pop-up book given depth and scale. Performance on modern consoles is largely stable, save for an occasional frame rate dip during zone transitions. These hiccups are rare enough to be forgiven. The soundtrack deserves its own praise. Each track marries nostalgia with originality. A jaunty melody accompanies your first stumble into a new region. A deeper, more urgent theme underscores moments when Grohl's influence spreads. It never overpowers the gameplay, but it lingers in your mind long after you set the controller down. Ruffy and the Riverside doesn't rewrite the rulebook for 3D platformers. Instead, it reminds us why we fell in love with them in the first place. Curiosity, discovery, and that unshakable desire to see what happens when you press just one more button. Its flaws, camera quirks, occasional floating jumps, are real but forgivable. I give Ruffy and the Riverside an 8 out of 10. If you cherish the golden era of platformers, if you crave clever puzzles wrapped in hand-drawn whimsy, this game is for you. If you have ever wondered what it feels like to wake up alone on a world that remembers you, but you don't remember it, you'll want to hear this. Imagine stirring from cryo-sleep, eyes blinking against neon gloom, only to find the planet you once called home is now a maze of rusted machines and half-forgotten dreams. That's Robots at Midnight. From the moment Zoe's pod hisses open, you're swept into a rhythm of discovery and tension. There's no hand-holding here. You learn to trust your space gauntlet, the MITT, through trial and error. One beat of his charge punch, and you feel the satisfying thud of metal meeting metal. A quick dash, and the world blurs past as you flip through the air. Every encounter is a conversation and movement, one that demands attention. The story reveals itself in half-glimpsed diary pages, fractured holologs, and the ghostly chatter of ruined factories. You sense a tragedy woven into the very walls. Zoe's search for her father drives you forward, but it's the quiet moments that linger. The soft hum of a distant generator, the way rain streaks down neon banners, or a single, battered robot fisherman who still casts his line day after broken day. Combat here is deceptively simple, no sprawling skill trees or endless gear lists. Instead, every upgrade refines your instinct. You'll swap a faster firing gauntlet for one that rockets foes skyward, all without scrolling through menus. The focus remains on free-flowing flow. Parry-timed punches feel like poetry in motion. Dodge-throughs unleash brief slow-motion bursts. Then, just as you settle into that groove, the midnight storm crashes in. Inky clouds swirl, robots twitch with red glow eyes, sprinting toward you like wolves in the dark. You're left racing back to safety, heart pounding, breath ragged, wondering whether you should fight or run. It's simple design with a thunderous emotional punch. Visually, the game wears its 80s sci-fi heart on its sleeve. Neon echoes off wet asphalt. Shadows stretch across decaying theme park rides. There's grit here, but also beauty. A defiant flourish of color in a world that's lost its way. Performance hiccups happen on occasion, textures pop in too late, or Zoe hesitates on a ledge when you least expect it. Yet, somehow, those rough edges feel alive, as if the world itself is waking from a long slumber alongside you. Sound design is the unsung hero. A synth pulse soundtrack hums beneath your steps, never overwhelming, but always present. Each mechanical creak, every charge shot, layers itself in your bones until you can't shake the rhythm, even after you've paused the game. At roughly half a dozen hours, Robots at Midnight doesn't overstay its welcome. Its brevity is a strength, keeping the mystery taut and the pacing sharp. You'll wish for more zones to explore, perhaps a few extra gauntlet tricks to master. But when the final credits sway into view, you realize you've experienced a compact, vibrant tale, one that sticks with you. I score Robots at Midnight an 8 out of 10. It falters in places, minor polish issues, a touch of combat repetition, but its soul shines through every flicker of neon and echo of metal. If you relish movement, first combat without drowning in menus, and if you don't mind a shorter adventure that prizes emotion over hours, this is for you. Imagine stepping through the worn, leather-bound cover of an ancient tome, and finding yourself swept into a realm where every page turns out your will. Welcome to Griffith Academy. 5 years in the making, born from the tabletop dreams of a parent crafting D&D adventures for their children, and nurtured by a small team in Singapore, this is an RPG that wears its heart on its sleeve. I first met Erica, Viva, and Cap beneath the flicker of candlelight in the grand library of the Academy, only to watch them tumble into Caldria. That moment, when the inked words shimmer and swirl, remains my favorite kind of digital magic. It's intimate, fleeting, and electric. From the outset, Griffith Academy asks you to care, not because you're saving the world, but because you are guiding 3 teenagers through the wild chaos of growing up. As they search for Erica's missing brother, Ernest, you sense that Caldria is a mirror of their fears, their hopes, their unspoken questions about who they'll become. Story unfolds through animated conversations, each choice a soft nudge in personality. Compliment Biba on her courage, and watch her shoulders straighten, reassure Cap in doubt, and see his blade-wielding confidence blossom. These moments feel personal, not checkbox morality points, genuine, subtle, resonant. When combat begins, the world shifts. The camera pulls back, a simple grid anchors turn-based flow. There's no grandstanding. Instead, every swing of Erika's hockey stick, every heal from Biba's enchanted book, and every sword strike from Cap feels deliberate. Two difficulty modes greet you, story for gentle pacing, and strategy for those late-night battles that demand cunning. I dance between them, savoring the relaxed rhythm of story mode one evening, then challenging my wits in strategy mode the next. Both felt fair. Both felt born of the same designatos. Welcome players, then reward their care. The world itself, the land of Caldria, is not massive. It's a stage. You click through a map, selecting chapters, shops, or side quests. You won't wander freely. There are no endless forests to traverse, but that's by design. Every location, every sketch backdrop feels like a tableau in a living storybook, hand-drawn art blended with three-dimensional warmth. Think of it as a play unfolding, character-driven, scene by scene. Soundtrack and sound design elevate this theater. Orchestral swells punctuate victories, soft strings underscore moments of doubt. No voice acting yet, but the music speaks for the characters. Hits in combat land with satisfying weight. Spells crackle and pop with crystalline clarity. What I love most is the game's refusal to hide behind complexity. There are no sprawling skill trees, no convoluted crafting. Instead, you earn essence, spend it on weapons and accessories, and watch your trio grow. Points in strength, points in defense, a fresh ring that grants counterattacks. Choices, yet never overwhelming. And beneath the systems, there's an emotional current. Caldria's darkness echoes teenage uncertainty, its monsters, our insecurities, its friendships, the lifelines we cling to. I felt pangs of nostalgia. I felt the thrill of first responsibility. I felt, once again, that growing up can be a grand fantasy. Grifford Academy isn't for the hardcore only, nor is it a simple mobile knockoff. It's a bridge, a gentle passage for those curious about RPGs. It's also a quiet delight for veterans seeking a heartfelt side quest. So, here's my score. 8 out of 10. A score that honors its sincerity, its polished core, and its welcoming design. It loses a point for its limited exploration, and another for wanting just a touch more mechanical depth. But these are small ripples in an otherwise clear pond. If you've ever felt daunted by massive RPGs, or if you've longed for a story-driven journey that values feeling over flash, Grifford Academy is your next stop. Step inside. The pages are waiting, and your adventure begins the moment you turn that first virtual page. I still remember the first moment I stepped into Azuma, my character falling through the roof of a shrine, the faint echo of drums, and a talking sheep named Wolby urging me to save the land. That dreamlike opening perfectly sets the tone for a game that feels both familiar and strangely new. Rune Factory. Guardians of Azuma isn't just another entry in the series, it's a spiritual reboot, one that shifts the focus from endless chores to meaningful exploration and emotional storytelling. Right away, you become an earth dancer, a patch of light against a world draped in shadow. The celestial collapse shattered Azuma 50 years ago, scattering its villages across sky and sea. Your first task? Restore the divine presence of each village's gods. In practice, that means venturing into corrupted fields, drawing a sacred bow to shatter blight, and then returning home to see a once withered tree bloom again. That cycle, corrupt, cleanse, rebuild, never feels repetitive. Combat is brisk and accessible, yet satisfying. Hitting Y for light attacks, X for heavy strikes, and holding A to unleash sacred treasures creates a flow that feels intuitive. Boss fights reward timing more than grinding. Perfect dodges that slow time become moments of triumph. Equipping party members adds another layer, a healer's gentle incantations, a warrior's shield wall, and even a tame monster that chases down fleeing foes. The joy comes from experimenting, pairing a blazing summer weapon with a frost-infused relic to spark a cooling mist that slows enemies. Small touches like these reminded me that JRPG mechanics can be lean without losing depth. Exploration rivals the best open-world titles on a modest scale. 4 main islands each feel distinct. Spring Village brims with cherry blossoms, Autumn Village's maples glow red and gold. You'll gain elemental tools that unlock new routes, a water rod to douse fiery barriers, a wine fan to clear tangled vines. And that dragonflight? It's not just eye candy. Gliding above crystalline lakes reveals hidden shrines, frog statues offering recipes, and dragon statues that become teleport anchors. Every discovery feels earned, not handed to you. Village management has been reimagined. Instead of plowing fields tile by tile, you build plots and assign villagers to farm, fish, or mine. Watching crops grow on their own lets me focus on story beats and relationship arcs. Speaking of which, the cast is unforgettable. Each character earns your attention through short, natural conversations. Bond quests are fully voiced, adding heart to every confession or playful prank. Cooking and crafting also sparkle. Ingredients I'd harvested across islands combined into nourishing meals that healed wounds and set my spirits alight. Finding a rare mushroom from a frog statue shrine unlocked a recipe that became my staple during boss rushes. These small rewards give me a sense of continuity, yet it isn't perfect. Dungeon design sometimes treads familiar ground, winding caves with reskinned enemies and puzzle loops that briefly outstay their welcome. And if you're a die-hard fan longing for the intricate farming of earlier titles, you might miss the tactile thrill of tilling every furrow. But these moments of fatigue are rare, easily forgotten as color and charisma spill from every corner of Azuma. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. It excels in emotional storytelling, vibrant exploration, and streamlined mechanics that respect your time. If you're craving a cozy village life with a dash of epic fantasy and don't mind dungeons that occasionally feel too familiar, this adventure was made for you. It's dawn on Arrakis, and you awaken with nothing but a stillsuit, a thirst that claws at your throat, and the weight of a universe on your shoulders. Welcome to Dune Awakening. From the very first breath, the game pulls you into an alternate Arrakis, one where Paul Atreides never lived, where the Freemen have vanished, and where you, a Bene Gesserit agent, must piece together a mystery as old as the desert itself. I've been scorched by the midday sun, hunted by Sardaukar patrols under the crimson moon, and trailed by sandworms that make your pulse drum in your ears. And through every step, the world has felt, lived in. Game systems here don't let you float. You manage thirst with desperate urgency, harvesting water from enemy blood, plant roots, or expensive purifiers. Every sip tastes like triumph and terror mingled. Sandstorms roll in like steel curtains. They whip your vision to white noise, and even the hardiest stillsuit can't keep the desert at bay. One misstep, one miscalculation, and the storm buries you. But it's the sandworms that define fear. Their approach is heralded by rattles beneath the sand, a low tremor in your bones. The moment you hear them, every action sharpens. Do you run for cover? Do you stand and fight? They are a living force, imposing, unpredictable, and utterly unforgiving. Survival here unfolds in layers. First, you learn to build a meager shelter. Wood walls, a small generator, a water purifier. Then you master crafting, reinforcing walls against storms, and fashioning heat-resistant upgrades for your stillsuit. And soon, you're thinking bigger. Mountainside fortresses, cliffside enclaves that defy the dune seas. The base building is robust, letting your imagination carve into the wilderness. Exploration is its own reward. Sandbikes roar across the horizon. You unlock them early, almost a lifeline, shaving hours off treks across barren waste. Later, you glimpse an ornithopter's shadow overhead, wondering when you'll pilot one. Combat is complicated. Melee clashes feel deliberate, but sometimes drag their feet. Timing a parry against a shielded foe can be maddening. Your sword swings carry weight, but they lack the visceral punch you crave. Range, however, hits its stride. Sniper rifles crack like thunder over sand dunes. You perch atop rocky outcrops, pick off bandits raiding your water purifiers, and savor the echo of each headshot. Abilities: spice-fueled grenade bursts, tactical sand traps, Bene Gesserit voice commands. Add a spell-like twist. They don't rewrite the genre, but they give you moments of pure cinematic joy. Progression is a grind. Everything decays. Every repair chips away at durability. Eventually, gear must be remade from scratch. Water demands grow with every tier of technology. In the mid-game, you're endlessly extracting, hauling, and upgrading just to taste progress. This loop can feel relentless, especially if you solo, but it also creates stakes. When you finally secure a new stillsuit upgrade, it feels earned. When you launch your first sandbike run without collapsing under heat stroke, it feels heroic. The story, framed by cinematic missions, pulls you deeper. You uncover fragments of Freeman lore, confront Harkonnen atrocities, and wrestle with the Bene Gesserit's own hidden agendas. Your choices ripple through server-wide politics. Will you seize power for House Atreides, or sow chaos for the Harkonnens? Each mission peels back Arrakis' secrets. You'll stand before a massive spice silo, watching its amber glow shift in the dying light. You'll decipher ancient glyphs carved into buried ruins. And always, the desert watches. This game, however, is far from perfect. Server hiccups flare under load, and early melee animations can clip through armor. But Funcom's rapid patches have tamed many bugs. Dune Awakening is a living, breathing sandbox of danger and discovery. It's raw at the edges, but its heart beats with the pulse of Arrakis. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. I recommend it for those who crave relentless survival loops, shared world emergent drama, and the oppressive beauty of Arrakis' deserts. Skip it if you prefer tight, polished combat, casual solo play without punishing grind, or a straightforward cinematic narrative. PopUcom is a cooperative puzzle platformer where teamwork isn't just encouraged, it's required. You and a partner take on the roles of rainbow gunners, armed with a color shooting device called the Rainbow Popper. Your mission is simple in theory: solve puzzles, match colors, and defeat mischievous creatures called Palmas, who have turned the world into a disordered rainbow mess. But the real beauty of PopUcom isn't in the mechanics alone. It's in how every element, from the mechanics to the music, invites you to share a sense of discovery with someone else. Right from the start, the game makes it clear that this isn't a solo adventure. You need two people. And that commitment to co-op carries through everything, from platforming sections that require perfectly timed jumps from both players to intricate puzzles, where one player must operate colored switches while the other navigates traps. Whether playing side by side or online, it's never about who's better. It's about syncing up, communicating, and figuring things out together. You'll mess up, you'll laugh, you'll retry. And when you finally solve that one tricky section, the celebration feels earned because you did it together. The core gameplay blends match 3 mechanics with platforming. Fire your rainbow popper to shoot colored blobs at enemies or environmental objects. Line up 3 of the same color, and boom, they explode, clearing the way forward or weakening a boss. It's instantly satisfying. But the challenge ramps up as you're asked to solve color puzzles while dodging enemy attacks, hitting switches midair, or working out what sequence of hues will unlock the next door. These aren't the kind of puzzles that just ask for logic. They ask for rhythm, timing, and most importantly, trust in your partner. There's a real sense of tactile play in Popcom. The game throws in new mechanics at a steady pace. One moment you're bouncing blobs to knock open a color gate, the next you're riding conveyor belts coated in sliding slime. Every level feels like a new invention, and every new mechanic deepens the ways you interact with your teammate. What really stands out though is the emotional tone. Popcom isn't dramatic or intense, it's warm. The environments, lush forests, glowing ruins, sleepy villages made of candy-colored bricks, are painted with care. The soundtrack is gentle and whimsical, mostly soft synths and ambient melodies that underscore a sense of exploration rather than urgency. Of course, it isn't without flaws. The strict requirement for 2 players means you can't play it alone, and there's no AI partner or matchmaking system. If you don't have a friend to join you, you're out of luck. Some of the later puzzles spike in difficulty, especially those that demand very precise timing or quick color swapping. And a few boss fights drag on a bit too long, repeating patterns that test your endurance more than your brain power. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. It brings back the best parts of couch co-op and long-distance play sessions. If you've ever wanted a game that feels like a shared adventure rather than a personal challenge, Popcom is exactly that. When I booted up Tron Catalyst, I wasn't expecting the grid to feel quite so alive. I expected sharp neon lights and slick surfaces. What I didn't expect was to feel so small, caught between colossal towers and swirling data storms, yet somehow also feel like I mattered. From the very first moment as EXO drops into the rain-soaked streets of Vertical Slice, I felt a pulse under my fingertips, a heartbeat in the code. The world hums with tension. Every illuminated archway, every glint off a data shard speaks of stories untold, of programs living in fear or in defiance. And EXO's voice, soft, determined, cuts through that digital downpour, asking, who will control this world? Who will save it? Walking her through crowds of core enforcers, or evading them on my first stumbling attempts, I discovered that Catalyst isn't a game about hand-holding. It's a game about embracing the glitch. EXO's power to loop time is woven into the very fabric of the city. When I died, it wasn't frustration that greeted me. It was opportunity. Rewind, retry, reimagine. Each reset taught me something new, nudging me to explore a side corridor, test a parry, chase a rumor whispered by a pixelated resistance operative. Combat in this world feels like poetry in motion. Your identity disc arcs through the air, first a thrown projectile, then a blade, then a shield. Every strike, every ricochet off concrete walls, is accompanied by a satisfying electronic shing. You learn to mix light taps and heavy slashes, interspersed with rolls and parries that slow time, just barely, so you feel the weight of that perfect counterattack. And when you nail it, when you catch a core guard mid-strike and fling him into a wall, well, that moment alone almost justifies the trip back to the grid. Then there are the light cycles. They roar under your command, like a beast you've tamed for one glorious purpose, chaos. You weave between neon pylons, drawing glowing walls in your wake, chase a rival, outmaneuver them, then slam on the brakes, sending them spiraling into oblivion. What surprised me most was how the story and world building never felt like filler. Bithell Games didn't just graft Tron Veneer onto an action template, they built a living, breathing art grid. I found myself pausing between missions to eavesdrop on NPCs, piecing together rumors of server-wide calamity. It wasn't mandatory, but it was irresistibly tempting. Voiceovers are sparse but perfectly timed. EXO's confidants crack jokes to lighten the mood, while her enemies unleash chilling monologues about order, about power. That contrast, moments of levity draped over a landscape inching toward ruin, felt human. It grounded the game in real stakes. Friendship, sacrifice, choice. Of course, it isn't flawless. Sometimes the same fight repeats a few too many times, and I encountered a few glitches. But those are small quibbles, eclipsed by the rush of discovery when a hidden passage finally opens. When the credits rolled, not long after the world began to crack, I sat back stunned. Yes, some threads remained tantalizingly untied. Yes, I wanted more traversal puzzles, more branching dialogue, maybe, just maybe, a choice that truly alters the grid. But what Catalyst Owl gives you is precious. A lean, electrifying journey that marries action and atmosphere in perfect sync. It is an 8 out of 10. If you hunger for stylish action, if you believe that a video game world can be as alive as any city street, Tron, Catalyst was made for you. As soon as you hit that boost button, the world becomes a neon blur. The air seems to whoosh past your cockpit as your pulse races in time with the techno soundtrack. Every twist, every jump, every split-second decision feels alive. The game doesn't waste time on lore or cutscenes. Instead, you're thrust straight into the action. No padding, no distractions. 12 handcrafted tracks, each one a unique gauntlet of gravity-defying loops, vertiginous drops, and razor-sharp turns. There's a forest track where towering redwoods blur past, and a desert course where sand whale beasts arch overhead. Every environment feels lovingly detailed, like a high-speed diorama you get to pilot. The core mechanic is deceptively simple. Collect energy chips to fill your boost bar, then manually switch between red and blue to match the boost pads on the track. Get it right, and you rocket forward. Get it wrong, and you slam on the brakes. That little moment, when you flick the switch just in time, is pure adrenaline. It's a gut check each lap. Can you stay calm under pressure? It's surprisingly strategic, without ever slowing down the pace. Then there's the jump. Press the button at any moment to launch meters into the air. You'll use it to vault across chasms, reach high-placed orbs, or catapult yourself onto hidden shortcuts. Mastering the timing transforms your play. What starts as a reckless fling becomes a precision tool, and when you land perfectly, your reward isn't just speed, it's a rush of accomplishment that pulls you deeper into the game. Vehicle fusion lives up to the name. In the garage, you pick 2 ships you've unlocked and merge them into one. Their stats blend. Maybe you boost the top speed of one with the handling of another. You also get a bizarre hybrid vessel, part razor-thin racer, part tank. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it gives you a reason to chase every credit. Speaking of credits, you earn them by racing, performing stunts, and shaving off split seconds. Modes are straightforward but satisfying. Grand Prix Cups test your consistency. Time Trial pits you against the ghost of your best run, always a humbling mirror. In Superhero Mode, one crash and it's over. It's brutal. It demands precision, but the thrill of a flawless lap is addictive. Performance is rock solid. Docked, you'll choose between maximum fidelity at 30 frames per second or a silky 60 frames per second in performance mode. In handheld, it smooths everything to 60 frames per second at 1080p via smart upscaling. Either way, the sensation of speed remains unbroken. Sure, there is unfortunately no online matchmaking, and that sting is real if you crave worldwide competition. But local split screen for up to 4 players and a clever game share feature fill that gap nicely. At €15, this racer feels like a gift rather than a purchase. By the time you wrap up your first Grand Prix, you'll feel both physically exhilarated and mentally sharpened. Fast Fusion doesn't just look good, it makes you feel good. It tricks your brain into chasing that perfect run, that perfect jump, again and again. For me, it is an 8 out of 10. This game is perfect for anyone who craves pure arcade speed, for fans of precision timing, and for anyone who wants to show off the raw power of the Switch 2. Rise of Industry 2 is a complex 1980s-inspired industrial sim. Picture neon-lit cityscapes, cassette tapes humming, and corporate ambition in every corner. You, the player, are tasked with building and optimizing a sprawling industrial empire, from raw materials to global exports. The game's orientation video feels like an 80s training film, grainy footage, pixel art transitions, and synth music setting the tone. There's no hand-holding. You'll place factories, connect power lines, and manage water supplies almost immediately. Each decision matters. Build a steel mill without securing iron ore, and your furnaces go silent. Overlook water or electricity, and production simply stops. It's a logistical domino effect, and one misplaced tile can topple everything. The production pipeline is your lifeblood. Extract coal or iron ore, refine them into steel, and then create final products like televisions or microchips. Each facility demands location planning, utilities, warehouses, and transport routes. If a coal mine sits on a mountain without a proper road network, trucks will bottleneck and delay shipments. You'll build power plants, pumping stations, and utility lines, all while managing warehouses, loading docks, and vehicle depots, with their own costs and staffing needs. At first, this avalanche of information can be overwhelming. The tutorial introduces concepts in small bites, but it can't cover every scenario. But later in the game, when things click, it's deeply satisfying. It was then that trucks moved, their warehouses filled, and my ledger flipped from red to black. That rush of achievement is what makes the complexity worthwhile. Contracts are central here. You receive explicit targets, deliver X barrels of oil by month's end, or supply 100 computer chips to another city. These missions push you to expand and refine your production chains. Failing a contract can be devastating. Miss the deadline, and you face fines, reputation loss, and wasted resources. Visually, Rise of Industry 2 strikes a smart balance. Its low polygon style keeps everything readable. Factories, roads, and pipelines stand out clearly. From above, you can distinguish oil rigs from smelters, pumping stations from plastic plants. The soft pastel palette evokes nostalgia without clutter. Sound design is subtle. Factories clank, conveyors whir, and distant horns signal shifting market prices. It's immersive, but never distracting. There's a campaign with 15 scenarios, each presenting unique challenges, from Texas oil booms to Midwestern tech hubs. Sandbox mode lets you create freely, adjusting difficulty sliders to build your dream empire. But be warned, even sandbox mode demands patience. A single bottleneck can derail months of progress. Emotionally, the game is a roller coaster. Early successes quickly turn to dread as you watch costs climb and contracts slip. Recovering from a wipeout, reworking supply chains, renegotiating contracts, redesigning logistics is intensely rewarding, but that learning curve can be unforgiving. So, who is this for? If you thrive on micromanagement, spreadsheets, and optimizing every detail of a supply chain, this game will reward you. If you prefer a gentler onboarding experience, it may feel punishing. It is an 8 out of 10. I recommend it to strategy veterans and hardcore management sim fans. For anyone else, proceed with caution. Stepping into the Maui world felt like walking into a painting. Outrider Mako ensnares you with its lush 16-bit pixel art, every leaf, ruin, and rune alive with color. You're Mako, a girl thrust through a portal into a realm of capricious gods and mischievous Mononoke. To return home, you must play courier, gather crystals, craft spirit-wrapped parcels, and deliver them to divine patrons. It sounds simple, yet each delivery weaves exploration, combat, and crafting into a seamless dance. Combat hinges on a single, brilliant twist: red nectar. Splash goop onto foes, slowing them, then bounce for a devastating smite. Chain reactions ripple through clusters of enemies. When it works, it feels ingenious. When it fails, drenched by rain or lost in a horde, the rhythm falters. Between missions, the delivery center hums with possibility. Stash your loot in an ethereal ATM, buy boomerangs and nectar beacons from wandering merchants, and equip 3 divine blessing talismans for perks that shift your strategy. It's a dash of roguelite flair inside a cozy action shell. Each frame feels hand-drawn, washed in sunsets and moonglow. Character sprites bob with playful inertia. Every slash and spatter of nectar resonates with purpose. The soundtrack loops like a lullaby from another world, joyous, curious, and ever so slightly melancholic. Yet, not everything sparkles. Manual save points hidden in demon-guarded alcoves can let you fall further than you meant to. In the end, Outrider Mako is an indie marble wearing jagged edges. It brims with heart, dares to twist familiar mechanics into something new, and then trips over its own ambition. Outrider Mako is an indie marble with rough edges. It dares to reinvent action mechanics, it stumbles over its ambition, and if you crave handcrafted pixel realms, inventive combat, and don't mind the occasional frustration, this world may grip you. Otherwise, you might prefer to wait for a smoother ride. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine falling, faster than you ever thought possible, through a world that shifts beneath your feet, where shadows stretch like fingers and every heartbeat echoes in empty halls. You land, you blink, and you are the Sandman. Through the nightmares, throws you into a dream realm gone mad. Children's fears, twisted forests, spider-lined streets, crumbling castles, come alive. And Morpheus, the god of sleep, has lost his way. Your task is simple: rescue the lost souls and restore peace. Yet nothing about this game is simple. From your first jump, you feel the weight of every decision. You can shrink, becoming a whisper of a creature, drifting over traps, or grow, transforming into a heavy presence capable of smashing through walls and reaching distant platforms. This size shifting is not a gimmick. It's a language, one you learn to speak fluently or die trying. Death is never far away. A single misstep sends you tumbling back to the start. But progress comes as much from failure as from success. Each instant respawn is an invitation. Try again, inch by inch, rhythm by rhythm, until you see patterns in the madness. And then, only then, do moments of clarity shine through. When you glide past a gauntlet of saws or thread the needle between swinging blades and emerge unscathed. In those fleeting breaths, you taste triumph. The checkpoint flask adds another layer of tension. You carry it like a fragile lifeline. Place it too early, and you waste its power. Too late, and you watch it slip away, 3 uses gone before you can use it. The choice keeps your palms sweating. It makes every advance feel earned, and every setback brutally personal. Visually, the game is a study in contrasts. Low poly art embraces simplicity, yet the color palettes cut deep. Gloomy blues in the haunted woods, rusted reds under collapsing bridges, soft gold glows around the Sandman, a lone beacon in each nightmare. It never hides its limitations. Instead, it weaves them into the dream logic, making each world feel eerily coherent. Sound is just as critical. A humming corridor, the metallic clang of gears, music that pulses with the traps themselves. When a platform swings in time with the melody, you realize this is more than accompaniment. It's guidance. It becomes part of your mental map, syncing your movements to the heartbeat of the nightmare. Narratively, Through the Nightmares trusts you to piece together its story. There are no lengthy cutscenes or expository walls of text. Instead, you collect fragments, shattered toys, faded photos, the whisper about the children's lives, and Morpheus's fall from grace. It's subtle, it's haunting. It lingers in your mind long after you power off. Yet, for all its beauty, the game sometimes stumbles. Boss rush segments and chase levels can break the flow, turning precision into memorization drills. A collapsing cavern, or a bellowing troll, demands perfect knowledge of every hazard, stripping away the careful pacing you've worked to master. Those moments feel like tugs in the wrong direction, but they are few and they seldom dull the overall experience. Ultimately, Through the Nightmares is a meditation on persistence. It asks you to embrace frustration, to learn from it, and to use it as fuel. It doesn't coddle you, it doesn't hold your hand, but if you let it, it carves you into something better, more patient, more precise, more alive. I scored a 7.5 out of 10, and I recommend this to anyone who craves platformers that challenge your reflexes and your resolve in equal measure. If you love discovering patterns in chaos, if you want a game that rewards thought as much as skill, then step into these nightmares and prepare to wake up changed. From the moment you press start, a lone wolf silhouette greets you. Its glowing eyes hint at ancient terror. Then you step into 18th century France as Matteo Lombardo, sole survivor of the Rose Cross Order. Your quest: track down the Beast of Gévaudan, a creature that carved fear into the countryside and spun its legends into nightmares. There's no sweeping exposition, just sparse dialogue whispered in candlelit villages and half-heard rumors that crawl under your skin. Walking through that first village, I felt the weight of every creaking board. Footstep sounds, delicate but deliberate, remind you how fragile life is here. I watched villagers scatter at dusk. I felt the hush of fear when a distant howl split the night. These atmospheric touches aren't mere window dressing. They're an invitation to become part of the story. Movement is deliberate, no frantic rolls, no instant dashes. Instead, you master the slide. A humble motion that, when chained, lets you cross crumbling bridges or slip beneath jaws snapping shut. Swings carry weight, rifle shots crack the air with purpose. There's a pause after each strike that demands attention. Read your enemy's tells, circle, retreat, then strike again. When it comes to exploration, the map is a bare-bones sketch, no pins, no shortcuts. I snapped screenshots of branching paths, scribbled notes in the margins, and still, I found myself grinning when a hidden cavern opened to reveal a secret relic. Visually, the game sticks to muted earth tones, grays that bleed into midnight blues, greens that seed like poison marshes. Pixel sprites move with surprising smoothness. Occasionally, you'll spot a flicker during a room transition, but it barely registers against set-piece moments. A wolf's glowing maw emerging from swirling mist or the crumbling stones of a long-dead chapel. Audio is where it truly shines. The score unfolds like a raven's wings, haunting choirs one moment, mournful pianos the next. Ambient loops, dripping water, distant howls, curl around your senses. This isn't a forgiving game. Save points are spread thin, die in a swamp pit, and you'll trudge back through traps and respawning terrors. Yet that sting of loss sharpens every decision. I found myself hoarding potions, studying enemy patterns, and returning with a measured patience I thought I'd lost. Each boss felt like a battle of wills. Each new ability unlocked fresh possibilities. And though my patience wore thin at times, the satisfaction of finally clearing that grueling gauntlet was worth every setback. Chronicles of the Wolf captures the soul of classic Metroid-style horror. It demands commitment, it offers atmosphere in spades, and it balances nostalgia with its own fierce identity. For me, it is a 7.5 out of 10. If you crave deliberate combat, if you long for exploration that rewards curiosity, if the flicker of torchlight in a haunted forest makes your heart race, this is your hunt. If, however, you prefer lightning-fast movement or endless quality-of-life shortcuts, this wolf might bite harder than you intend. In this game, the journey begins when you stumble into an abandoned workshop at dusk with tools scattered across dusty workbenches and the scent of rust lingering in the air. You play as an asset retrieval specialist for Fazbear Entertainment, sent to recover a rogue prototype endoskeleton, the Mimic. Edwin Murray, the eccentric inventor behind it, vanished years ago. His workshop stands silent, frozen in time, until you arrive. And then, the halls come alive. From the moment you power up your handheld security device, tension hums beneath the surface. Every creak, every half-glimpsed shadow feels deliberate. The game wastes no time reminding you that you're not alone. A flick of a faulty light switch? A mannequin in the corner that wasn't there moments ago. These aren't cheap jump scares. They're gentle reminders. Remain vigilant. Stealth is your lifeline. Crouching behind crates, scuttling through vents, praying the Mimic lingers elsewhere, this is where Secret of the Mimic shines, mostly. Early encounters spark genuine adrenaline. You'll press your back against a cold wall, listen to metallic footsteps echo, and feel your pulse spike. And when you finally glimpse the Mimic, an eerie blend of sinew and costume, your heart skips. One chase later, you'll swear the walls themselves are closing in on you. But perfection remains just out of reach. Enemy A, I can be mercurial. Sometimes, the Mimic will circle back as if it read your playbook. Other times, it will pass within inches of your hiding spot without a second glance. That unpredictability can thrill you, or leave you exasperated, questioning if you were ever truly in control. Puzzles thread through the manor like veins. You'll reroute power, decode audio logs, align pressure plates. On paper, this is brilliant. Each lock you pick feels earned. In practice, repetition seeps in. Soon, you're fetching keys and levers with the same ritual precision, and the magic dims. Worse still, the game leans heavily on its autosave checkpoints. Die just before a crucial cutscene, and you'll find yourself retracing steps you thought you'd conquered. Again. Visually, it stands tall. Textures glisten with grime. Costumes, once innocent, now leer at you from every alcove. The color palette slouches between muted grays and the occasional violent burst of neon. Animations ripple with realism. Watch the mimic tilt his head, cock his jaw, and you'll feel its intelligence. Sound design deserves its own ovation. The faint hiss of hydraulics. The rasping whisper of servos. Even silence feels weighted, pregnant with unseen threats. Technically, this title improves on its predecessor. Frame rates hold firmer. Long load times are gone. Yet, lurking beneath the polish are soft locks. Elevators that lock you out, missing objects that refuse to respawn, and rare but infuriating crashes. If you prize uninterrupted flow, prepare to grit your teeth. If you're a die-hard fan, hungry for new lore breadcrumbs and willing to forgive occasional hiccups, this game will scratch that itch. And if you love tense stealth horror, where every sound is a puzzle, every shadow a riddle, you'll find real moments of brilliance. But if you demand rock-solid mechanics, seamless pacing, or more than a handful of novel scares, you might watch from the outside. I scored a 7.5 out of 10. It's worth your time if you crave immersive horror, love detective work, and don't mind a few rough edges. Have you ever considered that a toaster could have a broken heart, or that the light in your living room might be lonely? Welcome to Date Everything, a game that transforms the most mundane objects into fully realized characters, with hopes, fears, and even romantic inclinations. I stepped into this world with curiosity. A pair of enchanted glasses, called Dataviators, let me see the hidden personalities of everything around me. A bookshelf becomes a chatterbox. A rubber duck turns into a rebellious baritone. One by one, I learned their stories. Some were hilarious, others were quietly heartbreaking. Conversations feel surprisingly organic. These small moments created an emotional bond that I didn't expect from a dating sim about household items. Gameplay unfolds gently. 5 interactions per day, 5 chances to choose whom to befriend, love, or even antagonize. I found myself planning my days like a delicate social dance. Who deserves my empathy today? Who could use a little sass? And who did I just want to see fume in mock outrage? Each choice nudged my stats: smarts, poise, empathy, charm, and sass, unlocking new dialogue paths that felt earned, not arbitrary. Yet not every interaction landed. A few characters felt like fleeting jokes rather than full personalities. Occasionally, I'd press continue on dialogue that looped without revealing much new, but those hiccups were rare. By and large, the variety of over 100 datables kept me exploring rooms I'd walked past a dozen times. It isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Navigating the house could become tedious. Some objects hide in plain sight, tucked behind misaligned furniture or under loose carpets. I learned to treat every corner like a treasure hunt, and the thrill of discovery was worth that extra step. Voice acting stands out as the game's secret weapon. When Felicia Day guided me gently through my first awkward conversations, I felt a warm glow of reassurance. These performances lift the writing, turning simple puns into moments that linger. Visually, the world shifts beautifully when the Dataviators activate. A muted, gray house becomes bright and vivid. Colors pop, shadows dance, and each datable you've unlocked glows with personality. It's a clever reminder that perception changes everything. And then, there's the glitch. A character named Demon, hiding in broken text and eerie monologues, upends the whimsical tone and turns the game into an unsettling analog horror vignette. It's brief, it's unexpected, and it reminds you that even the sweetest dream can hold a shadow. After dozens of hours, I reached the end of nearly every storyline. I collected stories, achievements, and a scrapbook of memories. And I realized something. Date Everything isn't really about dating objects. It's about paying attention to the small things, moments we often overlook in our daily lives. It's about empathy, curiosity, and treating the world around us as if it matters. Because it does. Date Everything isn't perfect. It can be slow. It can feel repetitive. But it dares to be different. And in a sea of predictable romances, the bravery is refreshing. I'm giving Date Everything a 8 out of 10. It is a heartfelt, whimsical, and often hilarious journey that reminds us every object and every moment can have a story worth discovering. Imagine descending into a world where every footstep echoes against rusted pipes, where the distant thump of bass is the only thing keeping you alive. Welcome to Antro. From the moment you slip into Niche's shoes, you feel a weight of oppression, of secrets untold, and of a rhythm that refuses to be silenced. I dove in expecting a straightforward platformer. Instead, I found myself immersed in a subterranean Barcelona that breathes with graffiti, with whispered rumors of revolution, and with music that feels as vital as oxygen. The story is deceptively simple. Deliver a mysterious package, and somehow that act sparks a rebellion against La Cúpula. Yet the magic lies in the details. Patty's fragmented recollections that play like poetry. An abandoned subway car humming with hidden beats. The fleeting glimpse of sunlit streets above ground that reminds you what you're fighting for. At first, the gameplay feels familiar. Run, jump, wall run. But during those rhythm-driven chase sequences, Antro transforms. You're no longer just guiding a character, you're performing on a stage. Every input must align with the music. A slide timed to the snare, a strike on the downbeat, a leap synced with a soaring synth. It's addictive, it's demanding. And when you nail a sequence perfectly, It feels like you're part of the soundtrack itself. Visually, Antro sticks to a muted palette, grays, browns, and hints of neon red, but within that restraint lies creativity. Factories pulse in time with the music, drones patrol like choreographed sentinels, and background graffiti flickers when the beat drops. It never feels cluttered. Instead, every element heightens the tension, underscoring the narrative that art survives even when it's outlawed. The audio design goes beyond music. Footsteps on metal grates, whirring servos, and the distant drip of water echo through concrete corridors. These sounds weave into the soundtrack so that silence itself feels like a weapon. Pause and listen, and the world feels alive, or at least more desperate. The desperation is real. However, there are some flaws here. Occasional clipping, a frozen scene, and a single mistimed jump that can force a retry. And sometimes the controls feel a hair too unforgiving. But even those hiccups became part of my experience. Emotionally, I felt claustrophobic because every tunnel felt like a cell. Empowered because every successful rhythm run felt like breaking a chain. But by the end, when Nitch stands before La Cupola's fortress and the final beat explodes into color, I felt triumphant, not because the fight was over, but because I'd become part of something bigger. Antro is a bold, concise experience where music and movement merge into something memorable. Yet those occasional control hiccups, the brevity of its rhythm sections, and a handful of bugs leave you wanting more polish and depth. It's a journey that thrills, but at times teases you with brilliance that isn't fully realized. I scored a 7.5 out of 10. I recommend Antro to indie platformer fans who crave a strong narrative pulse, to rhythm game enthusiasts ready for something raw and emotional, and to anyone who believes that, in a world silenced, music is the loudest act of defiance. In Carx Street, neon-lit streets stretch out in every direction, dotted with skinny alleyways, cargo docks, and winding outskirts that beg for a controlled drift. Yet, despite the city's size, nothing ever screams memorably crafted. Instead, it feels like a blank canvas waiting for your own stories. Your near misses, your furious full throttle charges through traffic, your victorious slide across the finish line, inches ahead of an opponent. And speaking of opponents, the AI in this game doesn't pander. They're aggressive. You bump them once, and suddenly they're spinning out into oncoming cars. You find yourself grinning at the screen as you herd them like bumper cars. It's not polished, it's joyful chaos. Every collision is a tiny victory, every perfected corner a private celebration. Carx Street's driving physics are, at their core, a love letter to both arcade freedom and simulation nuance. Grip feels sticky, predictable, even on stock tires. But flip into drift mode, and you unlock a layer of complexity that can snare you in its web. Feather the throttle at just the right moment, and the tail flicks out in a satisfyingly fluid arc. Overdo it, and you spin out spectacularly, punished yet eager to try again, because that library of vinyl wraps and aftermarket bumpers waiting in your garage suddenly feels worth the grind. Progression here is quieter than you'd expect. There's no sweeping narrative, no grand betrayals or heartfelt monologues. Instead, you meet a handful of club leaders in a barely animated cutscene, sign an invisible contract, and then the real story begins. Your own. You build your reputation by winning race after race, by buying each new car and turning it into your signature work of art. It's a slow burn, sometimes frustrating when you blow your cash on the wrong parts, only to realize you've gimped your own ride. But every mistake teaches you something about camber angles and shock absorbers. Every rebuild feels earned. Customization is where Carx Street truly shines. This isn't just choose a color, it's sculpting your dream machine. Asymmetrical body kits, custom interiors, exhaust trims, brake caliper colors, you name it. And the vinyl editor? Well, I've lost whole afternoons turning a baseline JDM coupe into a rolling canvas. Underneath all that artistry, however, sit the rough spots. Performance on Series X can wobble when traffic hits peak density. You'll see texture pop-ins and free roam, and every now and then, the frame rate will hitch just long enough to pull you out of the moment. It's not game-destroying, but it reminds you that Carx Street began life as a mobile and PC title. Optimization patches are going to be vital here. If you're looking for a meticulously crafted, narrative-driven racer, you're going to feel a bit underwhelmed. But if you crave the freedom to write your own stories, if the idea of sketching neon arcs across a city map and fine-tuning every nuance of your ride makes your pulse quicken, Carx Street will reward you. For me, it is a 7 out of 10. It's not flawless, and it's not for everyone. But for tuners, drifters, and open-world fanatics who love to tinker, this is an invitation. FBC Firebreak is Remedy's bold dive into multiplayer. I slipped into its rubber suit and loaded up my Super Soaker. No fancy powers, just 3 friends and a janitor's toolkit. The oldest house beckon. Firebreak is built on that spark. Spray, shock, whack. 3 crisis kits hand you simple tools. A wrench for on-the-fly repairs, a zapper for powering broken tech, and a hydro cannon for dousing flames. Or foes. Alone, each feels neat. Together, they combine into improvisational chaos. Missions twist through 5 jobs. Fix the furnace, burn sticky notes, harvest irradiated pearls. Early runs feel quick and light. I'd sprint from room to room, cleaning black ooze from turbines or shooting post-its until they blanketed the walls. Hazardous sticky note hoard? Jump in the shower. I savored that goofy survival logic. But then comes the grind. These jobs loop 3 times, each tier unlocking new corridors. Tiny novelty wears thin by run 4, and I yearn for fresh objectives. Yes, you can crank up difficulty, or add corruptions like exploding bodies or icy slow zones, but those modes wait behind the hardest clearance. A perk that makes your revolver bullets wet? Sure, yet you won't see it until hours in. Guns rack up mixed feelings, the revolver snaps sweet headshots, the shotgun roars salvation, but the default SMG sprays disappointment. Upgrades help, but never revolutionize. Instead, I chase perks, like racing faster while aflame or healing teammates with static charges. Little twists that felt earned. Visually, Firebreak flaunts Northlight magic, always shimmer with impossible angles. Dust modes dance in fluorescent light. On PC, I held 60 frames, even as hiss swarmed in the hundreds. Audio gave every wrench swing a satisfying thunk and turned showers into sanctuaries. Emotionally, I swung between giddy discovery and bored fatigue. Honestly, if you crave short, bizarre co-op bursts, if you love Remedy's weird, sterile halls, this fits nicely. Grab 2 friends, crank up chaos, and relish the absurdity. But if you hunt a lasting addiction, this will burn bright, and then fizzle. In my opinion, FBC, Firebreak is a bowsing 6.5 out of 10. Iron, a playful, imperfect experiment. It's worth a night or 2 of inventive mayhem. After walking Mind's Eye's desert streets, chasing its mysteries, and enduring its flaws, let's explore why Mind's Eye is as mesmerizing as it is maddening. Imagine a blistering desert city, neon lit under a relentless sun, a place where humans lean on robots and algorithms for safety, only to discover that those machines might be the ones pulling the strings. Here, you are Jacob Diaz, a former soldier haunted by an experimental neural implant known simply as the Mind's Eye. You've joined a powerful corporation, Silva Industries, to uncover the truth behind your missing memories, and that promise, in its first heartbeat, feels electric. From the very first cutscene, Mind's Eye pulls you in like a well-directed film. Faces are animated with surprising nuance, camera angles linger just long enough to build tension, then snap to action with cinematic flair. In those moments, you believe you're watching something special. The voice acting is strong, delivering emotion that elevates every exchange. And the music? It swells, it hums, it scratches at your chest until you're invested. But then, you step into the world. You park in broad daylight on a sun-bleached street and a wave of disappointment hits. The horizon shimmers, half-baked. Buildings pop in like cheap holograms. NPCs wander aimlessly, oblivious to your presence. A car might explode in the distance before the frame rate plunges as if the game itself needs a moment to catch its breath. The visuals, once promising, blur into a soft haze, like trying to focus through smudged goggles. I can't count how many times the scene froze in place, forcing me to reset my expectations. This is a game that screams for just one more patch, but right now, it feels too raw. Gameplay in Mind's Eye moves in cycles. You drive to a marked location, you leap out, pop into cover, and you shoot. Or you fly a drone, scanning for data fragments, then you're back in a cutscene. Repeat. Over time, driving feels serviceable. There's weight to the vehicle, a sense of momentum. But when your car flips over a tiny bump and you have to manually right it, you remember you're playing on rails, designed to steer you, not let you explore. Combat tries, bless it, but it lands with a thud. A burst from a rifle sends bits of debris flying, but the impact lacks satisfaction. Enemies duck into cover, but their reactions border on robotic. Sometimes bullets sail through walls, sometimes not. Recoil exists, but it doesn't sing, it yawns. After the 100th shootout, you long for a melee attack, anything to break the monotony. Yet, and this is crucial, the story does hold you. Jacob's personal quest to reclaim his mind flicks emotional switches. You uncover flashbacks that feel almost dreamlike, snippets of betrayal and loss. The relationship between the idealistic inventor and the power-hungry mayor crackles with tension. Even in the slow stretches, you lean forward, hoping the next cutscene will pull the rug from under you. There are moments here where Mind's Eye truly soars. A midnight desert chase under stormlit clouds, a tense confession in a sterile lab, the hum of an AI drone whispering as you investigate a shattered array of monitors. And yet, too often, that vision fractures under technical strain. The world feels empty, as though half the inhabitants stayed home. Pop-in strikes like a faulty projector. Your sense of agency vanishes behind linear walls, both literal and figurative. It's a patchwork of high points and low dips, like a film cut together without proper editing. Mind's Eye aims for the stars, but stumbles on its own foundation. Its narrative heart beats with promise, its cinematics shine, but its body is hobbled by unrefined gameplay and rough performance. Right now, this title is more of a prototype than a polished adventure. For me, it is 5 out of 10, and I cannot recommend it to you all.